I'm here with CRN's Jen Follett and Steve Burke, truly the stars of the XChange event. I want to talk to you a little bit about the top themes we're seeing coming out today. Obviously, AI is huge, but what else are you seeing coming out of the event before we get to AI?
Yeah, AI number one, of course. Security a very close second, as it often is. And of course, the two are sort of hand in hand right now as well. In general, because of such a strong MSP presence at this event, I think the whole services push in general, how can partners differentiate themselves with higher level, higher margin services, it's underlying all of this.
And Steve, I've been hearing that this is the most engaged crowd of solution providers. I believe we have 274 that we've seen in a long time. What are you hearing from partners?
No, I think it is. I think the most exciting thing here is this overwhelming sense of opportunity that we're on the precipice of with AI, and everyone's trying to figure it out. And so to see the solution providers excited and engaged and really driven to figure that out with new services, new solutions opportunities, and they're using AI not only to accelerate their own business with companies like Pia and Roost, where they're going in, reducing their cost of sales, using it to solve technical issues, ticket issues. So they're using it to dramatically increase the revenue per employee of their business. AI is going in and really driving huge profitability gains. And then on the other side of the coin, they're here with products like Microsoft Copilot, which there was a standing room only audience at the Open Text, Microsoft session where they went over the Copilot opportunity. So everyone's trying to look at the business processes within their customers and how they can use AI to reduce the expenses, to change the workflow, or to drive revenues through those partners. It's hard work because you've got to get into the nitty-gritty of the workflows of your customers. So solution providers and MSPs that have vertical businesses have a little bit of an advantage. And of course, at the end of the day, all the partners are trying to develop their own intellectual property to drive this AI revolution.
I was talking to Christy Davis, who led a panel here on AI at XChange, talking about the fact that this is going to completely disturb the market and change the internet in 18 months. That seems so quick. Is that what you're hearing? And how are they reacting to that? Jen, I'll go to you first.
It is very quick. I think partly because of the splash that ChatGPT made last year and really put it immediately onto the main stage, let's say, like into the public consciousness, not just people in IT, not just people in business. Everybody, I was hearing about this ChatGPT thing and checking it out, and it's accessible to them. And I think that's one of the main differences, AI today, generative AI versus AI that's been around for quite some time. We recently had a conversation with Arvind Krishna at IBM for a big cover story we did, and one of the points he made was, IBM clearly well known for AI for a very long time, but Watson, that wasn't touchable by the everyday person.
Yeah.
It wasn't in your face, it wasn't in your hands. It really had to be a very specialized, engineer to get into that and play around with it. Generative AI today, everybody can play around with it. So it really, I think, has made a leap off of that higher bar. Just the higher level of awareness of it has really propelled it into the business environment. So yeah, it's been very consumer-y last year, but the general consensus is this year, now definitely enterprise businesses, how do I use it, how do I make money from it, how do I differentiate myself? All those questions are starting to be answered in 2024.
And it seems like more of a tangible opportunity than, say, something like IoT. Like, you can see the cost savings. Again, Christy, who leads AI at the Channel Company, which is the parent company of CRN, was talking about the fact that you should, as a solution provider, map out what Gen AI can do and map that to kind of roles at your company and not necessarily replace jobs, but kind of think about how you could evolve what the human beings are doing versus the AI. What have you been hearing, Steve, from the solution providers you're talking to?
Yeah, the solution providers, there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt because this changes their business model, it changes their customers' business model, and they've got to get their hands around this pretty quickly, right? So a lot of the solution providers are just now getting started looking at how do they develop ROI models for their customers, and they're looking at what kind of investment they got to make. Now, the biggest issue here, and we heard today through our own research, right? 300 new vendors, that's probably low. There's new vendors coming every day. There's so much money going into this. But the biggest issue is solution providers need help with driving those ROI models. So we need the vendors to step up. Nothing good happens unless the vendors work closely with the solution providers and the end user and their end user customers to help drive these opportunities forward. It requires a big investment. So what we're hearing from solution providers is they're looking for the vendors to step up and help them a little bit here, but they're definitely investing a ton of money in developing new roles within their company. They're looking at it. They've got to. It's a business issue too, because you've got to make sure that you're not investing so heavily and you haven't developed the ROI models where you're losing money. Because these MSPs, it's a cash flow business, right? They're very tight profitability models, so they've got to make sure this thing's profitable when they go out with it. And that's why it's great to see vendors like P and Roos. Now they're doing it internally. We need more vendors. Microsoft's coming to the fore here with Copilot. We need more vendors to step up with the engagement, the MDF, the co-development, the co-sell models to really drive this forward.
I was going to say one piece I think that really did resonate this morning was, we had a solution provider on stage, Titanium and MSP, and their COO talked about how, they're an 11-person company, right? And they're managing, I think he said 300 nodes. And his hope was that if they could use AI and hyperautomation to eliminate either, close to or over 100% of their level 1 engineering tickets, onboarding new people, dealing with password resets, that he could take that 300 nodes and bring it up to 550 nodes.
So we know a few things based on what we've talked about so far. We know our research is saying that we're at 50% of solution providers are fielding customer inquiries about AI. We know from the research we did 6 months ago to the more recent research, I think how many people have it in their tech stack as far as solution providers go has doubled, I think 5% to 11%. So the demand is there, and Steve, you spoke to them really feeling the pressure. But that comes with a cybersecurity risk, and that's where we need to talk about that, because our CEO, Matt York, was on stage talking about today how we at the channel company are really being careful about testing some of this AI internally and before we implement it. Jen, what are you hearing about that?
Yeah, with the enthusiasm comes some level of danger. Kind of the consumerization we were talking about earlier, has a dark side, which is there are people that are now going to run out there and bring in ChatGPT without telling anybody, or go buy Copilot and not tell anybody. So it could create sort of a shadow IT layer that businesses don't even know is happening. Part of the challenge of the public domain kind of ChatGPT situation is that data, goes in, and then you don't know who else gets to see it or what they're going to do with it. So you do have to be really careful about putting proprietary information into it. So if you have employees that are messing around with it and your IT staff doesn't know, or their managers don't know, it is a risk.
Is that something you're hearing too, Steve, from solution providers?
The biggest issues are privacy and compliance, and there's a lot of solution providers, customers. Every customer is asking about this, and so partners are going into their customers and doing consulting around privacy and compliance around AI too, and educating the customers as a consulting engagement. So that's going on. That's full force. And obviously the big enterprise customers are especially hospitals, financial services, right?
Privacy is pretty important to them.
It's the number one issue. Like, you've got to be careful, because as someone was saying, if you use that, one solution provider was saying, if you used some of these tools in a hospital environment, you're breaking HIPAA laws. So you've got to be really careful with Copilot, whatever they are. You've got to make sure customers understand the compliance and privacy issues first and foremost, and that you're familiar with each of the products and what it means. And it's not, you got to drill down on the companies to really get to that too, because nobody wants to tell you, right? It's in the little fine print, right? It's the legal stuff, right? On what their responsibilities are and what you're signing away. When you sign up for a software license, you're giving up rights when you do it, so you got to be careful.
So we talked about cybersecurity. Data is also another element of this and is a challenge in IoT, right? You have all this data. How do you contextualize that data? Are we wasting time even collecting it? What are you hearing on the data side when it comes to AI?
It's kind of the promise of AI that it can help you sort through. It's sort of the next evolution of the big data conversations we've been having for the last few years, right? That AI can help find the relationships, find the patterns, do summaries, all these kinds of things to really help businesses get more out of their data. So I think that is one of the key areas where partners as well as their customers are looking to really make steady gains, productivity gains, and also, let's say, creativity gains as far as can I take my data and move myself forward a lot faster than my competitors can.
So we've got a few months before our next exchange. It's in August. What do you think? I'll go to you, Jim, first. What's the conversation going to be then? How much do you think is going to change in just a few months' time? This is moving so quickly.
I mean, this is not a one-and-done conversation. I mean, we've been talking about cloud for, 15 years? I mean, this is moving so much faster, but it's not going to be, now I've got AI. This is going to be a very evolutionary, revolutionary process. So I don't think the AI conversation is going anywhere. The partners are, I'm thinking this coming year, like we said, going to be investing heavily in their consulting services and building up their own expertise so that they can help customers come forward with AI, and that's just going to continue out through this year and into the next year. One piece that perhaps will be maybe a little more in the public eye toward the end of the year is the conversation around AI PCs. There's a lot of conventional wisdom that the second half of this year is going to be more economically strong, and that might be the time when people start investing more heavily in new hardware. Besides the AI PC itself, you have the push of Windows 10 that's supposed to be sunset in 2025. So the closer we get to that October 2025 mark, the more customers are going to be looking to refresh. And if you're going to be refreshing hardware, you're probably going to be looking pretty seriously at AI PCs at that time. So that might be one piece that's in the conversation today, but might be a little stronger once we get to August.
Steve, what about your hot take?
I think you're just going to see a lot more action, a lot more new vendors, a lot more solutions that are being deployed by customers, and I think it's just going to pick up more and more momentum. I mean, this is again, it's cloud 2.0. It's the internet again. It's the industrial revolution all over. So look how fast that happened, and this is happening twice, 3, 4 times as fast, order of magnitude faster, because that's the way technology works. So it's exciting time to be at CRN and to be at Exchange, and we're looking forward to coming back and seeing all the excitement and action and see where this leads us. But I can guarantee you the number one thing is, and the call to action would be for vendors to engage early, often, and relentlessly with the partners to drive this AI solution opportunity. And we all know that whenever there's a huge shift in technology, the big margins come to the leaders, the guys who are out there, the early adopters. Thank you. And that's what's at stake here. It's big money at stake, and big margins, and that leadership position is so important. So I can't wait to see what's
no pressure to those solution providers watching, obviously.
No.
I mean, if there's one thing this show, I think, has illustrated, it's that the partners are really hungry for information, help, guidance on how they build out their AI practices. So anyone that's coming to August Exchange and can talk about that and help partners make these moves as these decisions are being made right now, this is when we need to be part of these conversations. So between now and then, there's a lot of opportunity for vendors to really get in and help these partners build up this AI practice.
And the biggest thing is communicate through CRN, right? CRN identifies the market-leading opportunities for partners. So our call to action too is for the CEOs of these companies to get out in front of this and really talk about the opportunity and invest in the channel programs and the services that are going to drive their business forward and the solution providers' business forward.
Well, you heard them loud and clear. CRN is telling vendors, get out there in front of this. Also, the channel company is getting out here in front of it. We have a ton of thought leadership coming out there on AI. Included within this digital newsroom, we have several pieces you can turn to learn more about AI. Jen, Steve, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Andrea.